Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I was going to do a ghost build video for you guys today, but I realized that the ghost is mainly designed so you can bring back a character without having to use the resurrection spell. So today I'm going to move on with the Lich and the Mummy archetypes. So if you like what you see, like, subscribe, ding that bell, and let's dive in. So I'm going to start with the Mummy archetype and go from there. In order to take the Mummy archetype, you must be dead, and you must have been mummified either through natural or ritualistic means. You gain the Mummy and Undead traits, as well as the basic Undead benefits. You also gain the Toughness feat, but also a Weakness to Fire equal to half your level. The damage for your fist also increases to 1d6, and it loses the non-lethal traits. And finally, when you take the Dedication feat, choose one type of terrain: Arctic, Desert, Mountain, or Swamp. This choice cannot be changed and affects some of your Mummy feats. There's really not much to say about the Dedication, just we'll have to see how the terrain thing applies to other feats. The terrain that you pick for your Dedication is also known as your bound terrain. With the one with the land feat, you ignore non-magical difficult terrain while you're in your bounded terrain. Also, while in your bounded terrain, you ignore circumstance penalties to perception and concealment due to certain environmental effects depending on the terrain. If your bounded terrain is Arctic, then you ignore concealment from ice and snow. If it's desert, you ignore concealment from dust and sand. For mountain, it's clouds and mist. And finally, for swamp, it's rain or murky water. This one's okay. If your campaign is set in one of these terrains, it's great. Or if there's a reason thematically that you have these benefits. Unfortunately, the next feat at level 4 isn't much better. With Semblance of Life, when you deal damage to a living creature with your fist or with the Desiccating Inhalation feat, which I'll talk about later, you can use a free action to gain the effects of Illusory Disguise. However, you can only appear as yourself when you were a living humanoid. I mean, this is great for when you want to go into town and not look like a mummy, but my problem with this feat is that until level 12, you have to hit a creature with your fist in order to use this feat. That's right, Desiccating Inhalation is a 12th level feat. And depending on your build, you may not be the best at hitting something with your fist. This is a great out of combat feat, but only once you can pick up Desiccating Inhalation. At 6th, we have Grave Mummification. This gives you the advanced undead benefits. In addition, you gain resistance equal to half your level to any damage caused by your bound terrain. This can include anything from its dangerous temperatures, its weather, its hazardous terrain, or even environmental hazards. Again, if you're in your bound terrain a lot, it's pretty good. Otherwise, it's just okay. You wouldn't really be a mummy without the fear aura, so next is Mummy's Despair. Once per hour, for 2 actions, you can gain a 30-foot emanation aura of despair that lasts for 5 rounds. Creature that enters or ends its turn in the aura must make a will saving throw against your class DC or spell DC, whichever is higher. If they fail, they become Frightened 1, and if they critically fail, they become Frightened 2. A creature that succeeds on a save is immune to Mummy's Despair for 10 minutes. This is the first feat I've seen other than the Dedication that isn't situational. Just too bad that you can only use it once per hour, and it's not a constant thing. But maybe Greater Despair will be better. Accursed Touch simulates the curse/disease that mummies inflict on hit. When you critically hit with your fist strike, the target also takes 2d6 persistent negative damage. While it's taking this negative damage, it's also stupefied 1. The persistent damage increases to 3d6 at 14th level and 4d6 at 20th level. This is considered a critical specialization effect. This is just a way to get some extra damage whenever you crit with your fist. So Stupefied is a great condition to put on spellcasters, because not only does it lower their spell attack rolls and their spell DCs, but it also forces them to make a DC 5 flat check or lose any spells they're trying to cast. So if you're running into a lot of spellcasters and you're a mummy, consider this feat. Otherwise, you're probably better off picking something else. Also at level 8, we've got Storm Shroud. For 2 actions, you can surround yourself with a swirling storm of rain, sand, snow, or clouds, depending on your bounded terrain. Doing this makes you concealed for 1 minute. This makes your position obvious, so you can't use this concealment to hide or sneak. This one would be pretty good for tanky builds that are also threats. Possibly making an opponent waste an action by missing you is always good. Channel Rot is pretty simple. You now gain the effects of Accursed Touch with any melee weapon you're wielding instead of just your fists. Again, if you want to use Accursed Touch for teamwork, it's pretty situational. If you're running into a lot of spellcasters, use it, otherwise probably not. I consider Ensnaring Wrappings to be one of the better teamwork feats in the Mummy archetype. You must be an expert in athletics to take this feat. When you hit an opponent that is within your reach and isn't more than one size category larger than you with a strike that does physical damage, you can use a reaction to attempt to grapple that creature. Now if you use this during your turn, then you are going to take that -5. However, if you can use more than one reaction around and you happen to have the attack of opportunity reaction, then it's different. Now I'm not 100% sure what the raw ruling is on this, but I'm pretty sure that if you used attack of opportunity and then this reaction, you wouldn't take any penalties on this reaction, since it's not your turn. But I'm sure those of you that are more versed in the raw rulings will let me know down in the comments. Terrain form basically lets you transform into the weather associated with your terrain. You crumble to pieces, becoming composed of the very terrain in which you're bound. This works like gaseous form. You can also use this feat to reconstitute back into your original form. Both uses take 1 action. If your bound terrain is the Arctic, you become snow. If it's desert, you become sand. Mountain, you become cloud. And swamp, you become mud. This is one of those where it's like, oh, I'm low on hit points. How about I turn into sand so you can't hit me? At 12th, Desiccating Inhalation. For 2 actions, once per hour, you can inhale in a 30-foot cone. Creatures in this cone take 68 negative damage with a reflex save against your class DC. Any creature that critically fails its saving throw is also drained 1. Also, as long as at least 1 creature was damaged by this cone, you regain hit points equal to your level. And it scales up by 1d8 at 14th and every 2 levels after. Like I said before, this is the feat that makes Semblance of Life actually pretty good for out of combat. But otherwise, this is just a way to damage and regain hit points. Not that useful for teamwork. And lastly, for the Mummy, we've got Greater Despair. You can now use Mummy's Despair once per 10 minutes instead of once per hour. Also, a creature that critically fails a save against Mummy's Despair is paralyzed for 1 round instead of frightened 2. But it's also got the incapacitation trait now, meaning not so good against those bosses. But taking a lesser enemy out of the fight completely is pretty good, even if it's just for a round. Especially if the boss requires said lesser minion to do stuff for him. So now it's time to talk about what you guys probably clicked on this video for, the Lich rules. But before I get into the feats of the Lich archetype, I should talk about something kind of important. GMs, this archetype can very easily give a party member effective immortality. So even if you allow other undead archetypes in your campaign, seriously consider whether you want the Lich to be a part of that. If you're looking for a compromise, you could have the Soul Cage function like the Rejuvenation Token Skeleton feat. This effectively would require a ritual in order to awaken the Lich's soul from the cage. This would mean you would have to get your party members to help you out. Also, you'd have to spend a week of downtime in order to re-anchor yourself to the cage. In order to take the Lich dedication, you need a few prerequisites. Number 1, you have to be a living creature. Meaning, you can't become a Lich if you're already undead, such as with the skeleton ancestry, or with any of the undead archetypes other than this one. You also must be able to cast 6th level spells from spell slots. These can be from any spell list, but most liches generally go with the arcane list. You must also be an expert in crafting and have completed the ritual to become a lich, which includes crafting a soul cage. When completed, you trap part of your soul in it. When you are destroyed, your soul flees to the soul cage, where it rebuilds your body over the next 1d10 days. After those 1d10 days, you manifest next to your soul cage, fully healed, but lacking any equipment that you had on your previous body. Only destroying the soul cage can prevent you from returning. You choose the form of your soul cage when you craft it. This can include a miniature cage, a ring, or an amulet. Work with your GM in order to determine bulk and usage. Those soul cages are rarely more than light bulk. Your soul cage has 9 hardness and 36 hit points. If your soul cage is destroyed and you are not, you can attempt to bind your soul again, creating another soul cage. However, this is no trivial feat, and usually it requires a full adventure in order to do so. In addition to the effects of the soul cage, you also gain the undead trait and the basic undead benefits, which I covered in my Ghosts and Ghouls video right up here. Next at level 14, we've got Drain Soul Cage. This one basically requires you to be a wizard. Your soul cage is your bonded item. Once per day, when you use Drain Bonded Item, you can choose any spell that's in your spellbook, even if you haven't prepared or cast it that day. Your soul cage does not have to be on your person for you to use this feat. But if your soul cage is destroyed or broken, you can't use Drain Soul Cage. Even if you can drain bonded item more than once per day, like if you're a universalist wizard, you still can't use a spell that you haven't prepared or cast that day more than once with this feat. So essentially, this gives you some of the effects of the drain bonded item from the universalist wizard without you actually being a universalist wizard. And your soul cage doesn't even have to be on your person to do this, or to just drain your bonded item regularly. Next up we got Enshroud Soul Cage. This is a protection feat for your soul cage. Your soul cage constantly gains the effects of magic aura and non-detection. These effects are heightened to half your level rounded up, and use your spell DC against any attempts to counteract them. The magic aura makes your soul cage appear non-magical. You can ignore these effects when dealing with your own soul cage. You are also mentally alerted whenever your soul cage is damaged. Smart liches will definitely take this feat. Also at level 14, we have Hand of the Lich. First, it gives you the advanced undead benefits, which again I covered in my Ghosts and Ghouls video. Also, your fist deals 1d6 damage instead of 1d4, deals negative damage, and loses the non-lethal trait. Your fist also becomes magical. In addition, whenever you critically hit with your fist attack, the target becomes slow to 1 until the end of your next turn, unless it succeeds on a fortitude save against your spell DC. This is considered a critical specialization effect. This is just for those liches that want to be more martial. Because technically, if you archetype into a spellcaster, you can still be a lich. You just won't be able to cast as much as a full spellcaster. With Magic Sense, you can sense magic auras as if you were constantly under the effects of a first level Detect Magic spell, but only in your field of vision. When you seek, you gain the benefits of a third level Detect Magic spell on things you can see, in addition to the other benefits of seeking. You can turn this sense on and off as a free action at the start or end of your turn. This is just like the Magic Sense feat that full spellcasters have access to. At 16th, you must be legendary in crafting to take Bolster Soul Cage. Your Soul Cage now has hardness equal to your level and HP equal to 4 times your level. In addition, it only takes your Soul Cage 1d6 days to rebuild your body instead of 1d10 days. At 20th level, your Soul Cage only takes 2d12 plus 12 hours to rebuild your body. So if you pick up this feat at 16th level, that's 16 hardness and 64 hit points. Combine this with the Enshroud Soul Cage feat, and your Soul Cage is very hard to take out. Also at 16th, we have Spell Gem. This one also requires you to be legendary in crafting. You have a gem in your brow that contains one of the following spells, chosen when taking this feat: Repulsion, Scrying, or True Seeing. If you want to change this spell, you have to retrain this feat. Once per day, you can cast the spell you chose without expending a spell slot. At 18th level, you can heighten whichever spell you chose to 7th level. And at 20th level, you can instead cast an 8th level spell turning without spending a spell slot. If you want extra spells as a Lich, this is the feat for you. And the last feat for the Lich is Frightful Aura at level 18. You gotta be a master in Intimidation to take this. You have a Frightful Aura that extends out to a 15-foot emanation. Enemies that enter or end their turn in your aura must make a will saving throw against your class DC or spell DC, whichever is higher. On a success, the target is unaffected and immune to your Frightful Aura for 1 minute. Failing the saving throw means that creature is frightened 1. Critically failing on the saving throw means that creature is frightened 2. This is a good feat, I just wish it wasn't so high level. I honestly think that Aura of Despair is better, but at the same time, anyone can take this feat as long as they're a Lich. But I do still think there are better frightening feats out there if you are certain classes. But if you're not any of these classes, and you want to be a Lich, boom, there you go. What do you guys think? Are you rolling up any Liches or Mummies? Let me know down in the comments. Remember, teamwork is vital, and I'll see you guys next time.